Andre, UX is probably super prevalent, more prevalent than ever today because of COVID and stuff. So love to know, in your take, what is UX, and also why are things changing today in that area?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, guys. I think that I'm particularly very proud to see how far away young Nikhil has come, and we wish him all the best. He's a very smart guy, so yeah. COVID has thrown a spanner in the works of those companies that were very much stagnant for change, right? This has made companies change and really have to evolve in a very short amount of time, because all of a sudden you couldn't perform your normal duties at your office. You had to go back and do it from home, which meant that whatever it is that you were doing at work to like waste time or whatever, you had to take all of those distractions away and really focus so you can remain effective. And those of us that are lucky enough to still have our jobs and are still able to do our duties are doing so thanks to things like Zoom, Slack, and all those other tools that allowed us to work remotely. But that's one of the key factors that made me switch to user experience, because user experience is just in the way that we interact with products. So there's got to be someone that's designing how you interact with the products all around you. And it's not just digital devices or an actual coffee cup, but it could be an event. It could be in the way that you interact with the service. That's why service design is really important. So it encompasses so many different aspects. And I remember when I was learning UX, our teacher was saying that essentially we were future-proofing our careers, because the only thing that you're going to be making in the future more of was the different experiences, because computers are going to find their way to facilitate processes. So if you didn't have a job that was creative and your job basically was very much mechanical, your job could be easily replaced by a computer. So the idea is to make sure that you put efforts into a career that really flexes on your thinking and your creativity and your know-how, because what's happening between your two ears, no one can replicate that, no matter what the normal one computer is. So that's kind of like I hope that I answered your question in a roundabout way.
Yeah, no, it was a good background of what UX is. And I think one thing I've definitely noticed, especially doing UX jobs for a bunch of different clients and stuff, is that especially for industries that so many people rely on, such as healthcare, such as banking, a lot of that stuff is in person. And now these companies are like forced to like have internal dashboards designed and other processes designed and transformed into something else that's going to be future-proofed, as you were saying. So what's your take on that? Are you working on certain projects that kind of are like that, or? Yeah,
well, one of the I work for a tech company that deals more with the automotive industry, which is Cox Automotive. You guys would have probably heard of a site called Kelley Blue Book on autotrader.com. We own those two websites, and we basically are a marketplace for vehicles all over the country. Not many people know this, but there are laws that changes from state to state in the way that you can buy a car. So for a longer time, there was a rule that you couldn't buy a car anywhere else other than at a dealership. So you had to go into a dealership, because the dealership were the only ones that were licensed to actually sell you a brand new car. A car maker can give a dealership the license to sell a vehicle, and knowing that they can't give the milk guy the license to go and sell Hyundais, but the dealership has this license to provide that experience and that service. That has changed dramatically, because now I don't have to go into a physical dealership in order for me to buy. So we've been working really hard and coming up with a whole experience of how we can do a touchless, seamless way that you can experience vehicles, go on test drives, use VR, AR to facilitate those experiences. How do I exchange my money? How do I know that I can afford it? How do I know that I can get a bank loan and get an approval and not have to? I don't know if you guys have ever bought vehicles, but buying a car is just like an incredible pain in the ass. Yep. So how can we minimize all of those friction points in order to get folks to transact a lot quicker? Before COVID, that wasn't a priority. In fact, making those investments to do these things digitally cost a lot of money for this dealership. And they're like, we don't need it. We're making a lot of money the way we are. Cool down with your futuristic way of doing things that are more like reliable. And we're like, no, dude, like this is the future. We should really pay attention. And now, within 2 weeks of this whole thing happening, we were all rounded up, all of the product designers, and we're like, if we don't figure out a way to get folks to continue buying cars from home, we're all out of a job.
Yep.
So good luck with that.
Yep.
So we had to go in and do a bunch of design thinking methodologies, and we had to come up with ways that we can, okay, how are we buying and selling cars now, and how do we need this to be? What's the minimum way that we can change things so we can just get this thing going? And then moving forward from that, okay, if COVID wasn't a thing and we had like all the money in the world, how would we want buying and selling vehicles to be, and how does that look like for our company?
Yeah.
So we've been putting a lot of efforts into coming up with these new strategies, and it's called digital retail services. And now if you go to shameless plug, Auto Trader and Kelly Blue Book and see digital remote services, you'll see my handiwork basically into place, where we come up with all those processes. And that wasn't me even designing a screen. That was just us sitting down, figuring out different processes. So yeah.
That's awesome.